saw it was hot. All right, guys, we'll start in the front row with Dave Biddle. Dave, go ahead.
Hey, Jim, do you ever remember coaching a defense that was, I guess for you, 15-0 on third downs? At one point, you guys held them 15 straight. They were 0 for 15 on third downs. Do you ever remember coaching a defense that did that?
I remember some good days, but that's hard to beat. Yeah, I can't specifically recall that kind of production.
Tyleek specifically. I'm sure he's playing better and he's in better condition than last year. Maybe it's a combination. Is there one factor that's leading to him playing so much and so well this year?
Nope. Healthy reps, attitude. Tyleek has it all. So the athletic ability, it just keeps showing up.
Second row, we'll go to Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Before you got here by a few years, this program was running into this issue where it had these sort of unexpected, catastrophic, I guess you would call it, losses that would crop up. Is there anything about the way Ryan runs this program that you think helps insulate against that, like the week-to-week approach to a season that helps avoid those sort of problems?
No, Coach Day just preaches consistency. He breaks down the week for our players, what we're doing every day so they understand it. And, he's got a great intensity to him, that can motivate the players without bringing them down. So it's just a complete program.
When you guys were deciding that nickel was the best position for Sonny, his ability as a blitzer, either just the skill or maybe his body type in that role, how much of that was a factor?
No, it's a definite factor. I mean, it's an added dimension when you have a nickel with his size and athletic ability to be able to attack the line of scrimmage.
Behind Nathan to Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Jim, do you have any opinions on the whole sign stealing deal, and what do you do maybe to counteract other teams trying to do that against you?
I've been instructed by the higher ups, so I'm not speaking about that. It's a great thing about being a middle manager. I'm sorry.
On that note, we'll go to the back. Cameron T. Robinson. Yeah, Leonard?
Jim, when you look at the film of Jermaine specifically, just what stood out second watching of his game?
He doesn't flinch, at the point of competitive excellence. There was a shot, right, in press coverage, and he got his head back for the ball. He finished through the ball on a huge stage. So I think that speaks right there.
I wanted to ask you about that exactly, because there were times last year where the corners didn't really get their head turned around and they got called for a PI. What does it say about a guy like that who can, like you said, first time on a big stage, is able to turn around and make a ton of the ball?
He's got a lot of naturalness, and he takes coaching well, and you can coach him hard, and he doesn't back down.
All right, we'll go to the center back. Patrick Murphy, 247.
Jim, when a team brings a quarterback off the bench to play in the red zone like you guys were doing with Devin, what are the pros and cons from a defensive perspective of that, beyond the obvious of he's dual threat? You're bringing a guy in, I assume that gives you some idea of what's coming, but also more dangerous, I imagine, as well?
Yeah, you might have an idea of what's coming, but you got to remember it's all about practice time allocation, right? I mean, that's where there's only so many hours and that you're allowed to practice. So when you have someone with a different package, you have to practice that. You become more predictable, I guess, on defense because you just can't practice as much as you'd like to when the package changes.
We'll go fourth row on the aisle. Spencer Holbrook.
Jim, it seemed like last year you guys would adjust, but it would come after some of those bigger plays happened. Penn State had a 20-yard run and a 16-yard run, and then nothing else after that. What does it say about your guys that they're so quick to adjust? And maybe that starts with you, or maybe it starts with linebackers. I guess where does that start?
Yeah, I just started to adjust sooner, I guess. But No, your point is well taken. They understand the system, so we can quickly go from one thing to another without having to get on the sideline and explain it and break it down. So they know enough that I can make those calls, change it right away, and they respond.
Just the experience and this knowledge of the system shows up when it comes to like not letting things snowball. There are defenses that will give up one big play that turns into two and it turns into a touchdown, and you guys seem to give up one and then each play is like a new drive.
Yes. I mean, there's a resiliency that comes along with knowledge and confidence, and I think that's what you're seeing.
Front row on the aisle, Austin Ward.
Jim Steele was kind of open that Notre Dame game and Maryland that he may have struggled a little bit, eye discipline, things like that. Did you feel like he was in that a little bit of a funk, and that was Saturday a bounce back in your mind for him?
I think Steele is always learning and growing. I mean, you really can't discount the fact that he was a running back. He's just always learning and growing. So, but he did have a really good week of practice, and I told him that without giving him too much sugar, because I said he might be a diabetic. That's what I said to him. No, Steele, you did okay this week, But no, he had a good week of practice, and it showed up in the game. So, but he's always learning and growing.
All the way to the left, Whitney Harding, WCMH.
Hey, Jim. When you play Wisconsin, there's going to be a really good running back in the backfield. Braylon Allen's another in a long list. What is special about him from what you've seen? What does he do that's maybe different or just does well?
He breaks a lot of tackles. He really does. In different ways, Guys try to go low on him, and he gets his pads down, and they bounce off him. So he breaks a lot of tackles. It's the best I can put it.
That seems simple. One of the few explosive plays Penn State had against you guys with the tight end. Notre Dame had some really big plays against your defense with the tight end. What is it about those kinds of schemes with the tight end that maybe the defense is susceptible to, and how do you work on fixing them?
Yeah, you get guys closer to the line of scrimmage, right? When you're covering someone and you're closer to the line of scrimmage, things happen fast. So you get, you lose your eye discipline in terms of, the runs coming at you and the play action, and you don't have time and distance to decipher what's going on. So I think that's how tight ends get loosed, because things happen quickly.
Second row right here, Bill Landis.
Jim, is there anything unique or challenging about facing a Wisconsin offense that's going through a little bit of a philosophical transition compared to what they've done previously, but also still has a lot of the same personnel for the stuff that they were doing previously?
Yeah, they're spread the field more and challenge you with the RPO game. So, I think it makes them multidimensional because they still have the runs, and they have the built-in passes off of them. So it makes you play more honest.
We'll go over here to Tim May.
Yeah, thank you very much. Obviously, they had to go to a different quarterback last week. Mordecai got hurt, and this Lott kid, what just stands out about him? What's different about him compared to the previous guy, and how does that? You throw a lot of the video you had before out.
Yeah, they're still running now. They're still running the same offense. He's very similar. It's maybe he doesn't have as much experience, but really similar guys, same offense.
Yeah, but he kind of hit his stride in the second half against Illinois, so that was kind of an impressive comeback, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah, you could tell when he got some reps underneath him and into the flow of the game, he did a really good job.
Yeah, and Josh Proctor, what's compared to Josh Proctor this time a year ago? What is the biggest difference? How can you describe what he's gone through in terms of getting him to where he is right now from the standpoint of being an effective, consistent player? At least it appears to be to me.
Josh been through a lot of ups and downs, just in life in general. And I think that's why I've always coached college and want to continue to coach college because he's just one of those guys. Sometimes it takes him 2, some 3, some 4, some 5, some 6, but eventually you get to see the light bulb come on and like everything starts to go right.
You saw him in high school. I mean, you.
Oh yeah, I saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at his practice.
Is
Yeah,
this the kind of player everybody projected for him to be at this point?
this is it. He's starting to hit on all cylinders. Yep.
Thank you.
Fourth row middle, Tony Gerdeman.
I was just going to ask that, Tim. Thank you. When did you see it for him? When did that light go on this year? It isn't on. It sure looks like it is.
He's on that path. He's on that path. Our job as coaches is to keep pushing him along. That's what we have to do. It was one of those things that where you hoped you saw the talent, but you really didn't know until games. You just didn't know. And with Proc until he started to do it in games, and then he started to string games together, and that's what makes a great player.
Was it frustrating for both of you last year that it didn't happen?
Sure. Yep.
We'll go to the left on the aisle, Jeff Gilbert.
Safety-driven defense you talked about, talking about Josh. Is this defense being safety-driven like you wanted? Is that coming to fruition?
Yeah, I think you're starting to see that. I mean, you're starting to see safety show up in different places and making plays at critical times. And that's just an understanding of the system and how they can make plays.
We'll go front, second row here, Doug Maurice.
Jim, all the work you put in during the week to prepare for a game, are there times when you're sitting up there and like the artistry of calling a game, are there days where you feel like, okay, like I've got it, like I have a feel for this, and are there days where it's like, oh, I planned for this and it feels like, banging my head against the wall, I just can't get a handle on it? Like, what's it like when you're up in the box?
All of that. I mean, you can't, it's really one play at a time and 3 plays ahead at the same time. While you look backwards, to learn from what happened and what they're trying to do, maybe what you did well, where they might go with it. There's really no time to, kind of say, oh, that was good, I mean, maybe for an instant, but you have to move on. It's just a highly focused job, one where if you're doing it right, when it's done, you have tremendous headaches and you don't really know what happened. You know what I mean? You just try to get into a zone and stay there no matter what happens, because that's what we want our players to do. We want them to stay there, keep competing, keep playing no matter what happens, and that's what we have to do as coaches.
And Denzel Burke has played probably as well as any corner in the country this year. Just to have a defensive performance like you guys did without an excellent player like that, like what does that tell you about this secondary of this defense?
That just tells me they're buying in. They're seeing what Denzel's doing and the other guys, and they're all just kind of getting in line and ready to play. And coaching's been great. The attitudes have been great. The competition, right? Remember I said it all starts with the competition in practice and going against great receivers every day, and they're stepping up, and now they're all just hungry to play. They want their shot.
Right next to him, Stephen Means.
Start with George Hancock. It's one thing to be able to do both of those things, but I would assume it's very difficult to be able to do both of those things in the same game, depending on what's going on in the game. What about his skill set lets you know that he could do that and make that switch from outside the nickel, basically from a down to down?
Yeah, he's got really good football intelligence, and I think he had his best game, and you saw him show up in different places at different times. He's got a very steady attitude, to be able to handle all the things that are thrown at him. His competitive excellence is climbing all the time, meaning, performing at the moment. He's just developing confidence. He's got size, he's got speed, athletic ability, and he's willing to be aggressive. He's a willing tackler, and that makes a difference.
way you blitzed them, like it worked a lot on Saturday, and there were times last year when you would blitz and it felt like the corners couldn't hold up in coverage, and that's where the things would break down at. What about your corners are you liking this year that maybe in a game like on Saturday you sent maybe a couple more blitzes than you've sent all season? Do you feel more confident that those guys are going to hold up on a week-to-week basis?
Yes, they're playing better. They're competing for the ball. They're in position, and they're making plays.
Fourth row middle, Andy Anders, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, so it felt like you did a little more with blitzing against Penn State. There was, I think, an all-out blitz where Proctor got a key third down stop. Just, I guess when you have players now that understand the system so well, as the year has gone on, do you feel like you've introduced more of those maybe aggressive blitz concepts because you feel confident in the back end to prevent big plays still?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and they're always there. It's just a matter of timing and when to do it, and not put our guys in bad position. But you're right. The more they understand it, and the more we're able to defend on the back end, the more we do it.
We will go in the front row here. Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
You mentioned sugar before. A lot of sugar is being kind of tossed your way. You personally and the defense, I know you well enough. Does that, in certain ways, kind of scare you? I mean, are you feeling like things are really rolling and what can go wrong? Or are you thinking this is exactly where we want to be?
How do you know about my childhood? What do you mean? Yeah, it's really added pressure, right? And it's really becomes my job to get the players to understand that, when you start to play well, the expectations become higher, and that we can't go backwards. And the only way to do that is keep practicing at a high level. So it's really, I don't feel one way or another about it, but I know that our players are young men, so it's my job to keep yelling at them, I guess I would say.
What tangible ways can this defense get better?
We have some. We had some issues with some motion adjustments. Where we can be better at that. They can do a better job of making the play when I make a bad call. They can do that. Yeah, I mean, and that's joking, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if we are not perfect in everything, right? Let's make sure that we still have leverage and get the ball on the ground. It's that like controlled chaos when something happens that wasn't exactly planned. How are we reacting to that? How are we handling that? But a lot of it has to do with just motion adjustments and shifts and things that I see that I know we got to keep working on.
All right, last set of questioners. First to Andy Backstrom, Letterman Row.
Jim, with Jordan, you mentioned his steady attitude. How much did that come about last year with his injury issues? And I know he said he couldn't fully explode. I guess what did you see from his attitude last season that's kind of shown this season as well?
Yeah, I think he, I definitely think he had a chip on his shoulder or wanted to do better last year and wasn't in position to do that. So I think he had his motivation to be really good this year was high, and he prepared himself that way.
All right, and then we'll wrap it up right here in the front with Joey Coughlin.
Wisconsin's typically the team that's going to be ball control, run heavy. I mean, they've past years where their run pass splits might be 2 runs to every pass, and they're almost like a 50-50 team this year with their offensive transition. Just what's it been like watching them on film this beginning ready for Wisconsin? It looks a little different.
Yeah, well, they just challenge you, from sideline to sideline. All their runs have passes off of them, so it's like I said, it makes them really two-dimensional, whereas maybe in the past they're just one-dimensional. Now you get the run, but you could also get the pass somewhere else on the field because they're both happening at the same time.
Did you put sugar in your coffee?
No, no way.
Coach, thank you.